Namaste. Crispy, Bhagit Singh here today. Happy day to you. Hope you're having a good one. I was reading some blogs earlier, and I read this, what I thought was a really articulated, beautifully, nicely spoken piece from a yogi, Tiffany Cruikshank, and she was talking about her experience taking a class. And make a long story short, I guess she'd had a tough week and she was traveling and a little bit wiped, and so she took a class, and at the end of the class, shoulder stand was offered, and she opted not to do it. And from her description, the teacher, I think, got a little inappropriate. Came over, but didn't ask her personally why she'd elected to not do the pose, but actually, I guess did check in with her and say, why are you not doing the pose? And Tiffany replied that she wasn't ready to do it, but wanted like a different kind of heart opener, and so she had taken another pose just to, take care of herself in the practice. And the teacher apparently had to broadcast that to the whole room and say, shoulder stand is the best heart opener, and I think really humiliate the student at hand. Not only that, but shatter sacred space and intrude upon everyone else's practice at that point. In my opinion, straight up, not the role of teacher. That's maybe an instructor with a lot of ego who needs you to do what they say. So I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from. Yoga is self-care. I have no idea what's going on inside your body, inside your mind, if you got the worst news you'd ever had last night, or the best. If you just found out your father was dying, had died, or that you just found out you had a father after all this time. I really don't know, and it's not my point to intrude. And there are times when it's appropriate to kind of come up ahead of time and check in the class and say, hey, I've got a wrist injury, I've got an arm injury. And then there's other things that are really hyper-personal that you may not want to share. That's okay. And so my conceit is that as the teacher, as long as you're engaged and even staying with the breath, you don't have to do a damn thing I say. Teacher proposes, student poses. Now that doesn't mean just go crazy and start freestyling so that when I'm doing seated meditation and holding some space and doing prana work with somebody at the end that you're, doing handstand or back bends or something. But it does mean that if a pose is offered and it doesn't serve you, then you don't take it. And especially shoulder stand, that's just so nuts. I come originally from the Ashtanga Vinyasa tradition, and shoulder stand is pretty late in the sequence. And you know why? Because it's pretty freaking advanced, and it takes an enormous amount of core engagement, an enormous amount of excellent alignment, and you can put people in shoulder stand all day and watch some damn collapsing spines and some crunching cervical spines and little compression in here, and I'm thinking, what's the point of this? To satisfy the ego of the teacher, or to do the practice? No, nay. If you can't engage, don't do the pose. So, I've known people who have drastically injured themselves in shoulder stand. I don't think it's a pose that should just be casually offered. Now, if it's a sequence, it's Ashtanga, either that's what's part of it, or you can really guide people through it, excellent, but why would you ever goad someone into it, and why in any case whatsoever, would you ever humiliate a student publicly in your class by announcing that they're not following the program? A lot of insecure teachers out there. I dig it. And a lot of people who become teachers because they feel like discipline and militancy is part of the practice. It's a tough enough practice. It's hard enough as it is. You don't need people beating you up. Now let's be honest, I'm a pusher. I'll encourage you to go to your limit, but to your limit, and then I'll beg you to back down. And as much as I want to have people hold plank and build core engagement and start to work on arm strength, I'm screaming at folks to take Balasana too. This practice is for you, and it's by you, and it's about self-care. So here's a couple tips, and probably piss some teachers off out there off. How about that? Ask the teacher what their intention is. Don't be rude about it, but just wait until after class and say, what was that about? What's the intention? And if the teacher says, well, I'm trying to move you into... Why? Why are you trying to move me into the pose? Why are you not encouraging me and guiding me? Is it to satisfy the teacher's ego that you do the pose? Is it really so offensive? And the other thing that's kind of crazy about that is really radical adjustments. Is that to satisfy the teacher's ego, to put you into the pose? How do they know how your body is? How do they know where the energy is? Do you see the prana flowing in somebody? Can you tell what the engagement is? I just think it's so capricious and irresponsible, and it's really pretty common in the yoga world. So I'm going to tell you, students, go in, and if you've never taken a class from a teacher before, say, I'm a real big fan of self-care. There may be times when I modify the practice. The modification might not even look like the pose you're offering, but I promise to stay respectful and in this breath with you. And as a teacher, ask questions before you announce or assume. And ask the question individually to a person. And let me tell you, blessed David G., Mr. Swenson, who I have taken Ashtanga training for, it is perfectly acceptable to sit out of the vinyasas, but not to sit there and do Vajrasana. And fix your hair, and fix your straps, and kind of smooth it out. When you don't take the vinyasa, what you do is you sit there at the top of the mat between seated poses, and you inhale, lift up, exhale, jump back, inhale, up dog, exhale, down dog, inhale, come forward, exhale, into the posture. That's vinyasa. That's engagement. That's staying present. I don't care where your body is. I care where your mind, spirit, and breath are. That's me. That's what I'm thinking about today. Take care of yourself. Don't allow anyone to encourage you to hurt yourself, nor never allow anyone to take that space, that sacred space, and use it to humiliate you. But because the practice is so beautiful, go into it with a loving heart. Even joke with people and say, wow, you really can tell all that from the outside of me? I'll tell you what's going on inside of me. I just came here to breathe and relieve. So, asana practice, it's for you, it's for self-care. Yoga Chikitsa. Give thanks and praise. Namaste.